While Japan is known and celebrated for its discipline, technology, for its traditions, it has been, for some time now, quietly dying. Every year, its population shrinks by hundreds of thousands. Entire towns are emptying out, schools are closing, and for the first time in history, the country faces a future where it will simply not have enough people left to sustain itself. This is not a distant forecast or some crazy theory. It's happening right now in real time. Japan's population peaked in 2008 at around 128 million people. Today, it's fallen below 124 million and dropping faster every single year. At this pace, by the end of the century, Japan could lose more than a third of its people, with some projections going even further, suggesting that by the year 2100, Japan could fall below a population of 80 million people, a little over half of what it once was. It's hard to grasp what that really means until you see it. Small towns in the countryside where there used to be families, laughter, schools, and community events now stand silent. Entire villages with only elderly residents left, and every few months one of those residents passes away, leaving another house abandoned. In a country known for its efficiency and order, this slow disappearance feels almost surreal. Yet it's the only logical conclusion of trends that have been in motion for decades. The average Japanese woman today has about 1.2 children. For context, the bare minimum to keep a population stable is 2.1. Japan hasn't reached that level since the 1970s. At first, nobody worried much. Japan was booming. The so-called post-war miracle had transformed it into an economic powerhouse. Cities like Tokyo and Osaka became global symbols of modernity and progress. But while the economy soared, family life changed. Marriage rates fell. Young people began prioritizing careers over children, and the cost of living, especially in the big cities, made raising a family harder than ever. Fewer marriages meant fewer babies. Fewer babies meant fewer future parents, which in turn meant fewer and fewer babies. Because once that cycle begins, it becomes almost impossible to reverse. Today, Japan has one of the oldest populations in the world. Nearly 30% of its people are over the age of 65. There are more citizens in their 80s than there are children under 10. The median age in Japan is around 49, the highest of any major nation. Hospitals are filled not with newborns, but with the elderly. Pharmacies sell more adult diapers than baby ones, and entire industries now revolve around what some call the silver economy, products and services designed for old age. It's a stunning contrast from the Japan that once defined youth culture. The nation that gave us Nintendo or anime struggles to fill kindergartens. So why did this happen? The simplest answer to that is that Japan became a victim of its own success. As the economy modernized, education expanded, and urban living replaced traditional rural life. People starting marrying later or not at all. Women entered the workforce in record numbers, but Japan's workplace culture did not adapt. For decades, companies expected total loyalty, long hours, weekend commitments, and near lifetime employment. That made it nearly impossible for women to balance both a career and motherhood. Many chose independence. Others simply delayed family plans until it was too late. For men, economic insecurity also played a role. With rising competition and fewer stable jobs, many young men felt they couldn't afford to start families. Marriage became something reserved for those who had already achieved stability. And of course, that group kept shrinking. Then there's the social element. Japanese society tends to prioritize harmony and conformity. It's not a culture that easily embraces change. So while other countries turned to immigration to offset population decline, Japan largely resisted. Foreign residents make up less than 3% of the population. You see, Japan sees itself as unique, defined by centuries of continuity, language, and tradition. Opening the doors widely to outsiders still feels to many like risking that identity. But while that has brought the benefit that they remained one of the most homogeneous nations on Earth, they haven't balanced that protection of identity with population growth from within. And the government is very much aware of this. Over the years, there have been dozens of policies designed to encourage childbirth. Subsidies for families, expanded childcare, tax breaks, campaigns urging people to marry earlier, and none of that has worked. Even when the government covers part of the cost for raising a child, the deeper issues remain. Long working hours, small cramped apartments, and social expectations that put a lot of pressure on parents. And so the decline continues. Every year, Japan records more deaths than births. In 2024, that gap was around 900,000, with a record low for births and a record high for deaths. The nation is literally shrinking faster than at any point in its history. The consequences are enormous. Economically, fewer workers mean fewer taxpayers. With a shrinking workforce and a growing elderly population, Japan's pension and healthcare systems are under enormous strain. The rural areas are collapsing first. When the last family leaves a small town, the shops close, the school shuts down, and the local government dissolves. Then the town simply ceases to exist. But even major cities are feeling it. Tokyo still looks busy, but its population growth has slowed dramatically. Behind the neon lights and crowded trains lies a reality of aging residents and younger generations increasingly disillusioned about the future. Some towns have tried creative solutions. They offer abandoned houses for free or nearly free to young families willing to move in. Others have launched campaigns to attract foreign workers or digital nomads. But these are all band-aids on a gushing wound. The truth is that Japan's population momentum is already moving downward, and it is very unlikely to be reversed at this point. Even if tomorrow every Japanese couple suddenly decided to have 3 children, the effects wouldn't be felt for decades. The number of women in their childbearing years is already too small. The population pyramid has inverted. The base, with the young, is too narrow to support the top, with the elderly. And once that happens, decline becomes self-perpetuating. Technology is Japan's most visible attempt to cope with the situation. Automation fills the gaps where humans are missing. Robots greet customers in convenience stores, they assist in elderly care, and they assemble cars in factories that are spotless. It's an impressive sight, and in a way, perfectly Japanese, if you will. Technological solutions to human problems. But that can't replace what's missing. Robots don't start families. Meanwhile, another kind of crisis is quietly unfolding, one of loneliness. As more people live and die alone, a new term has entered Japanese vocabulary: kodokushi, lonely death. It describes people who pass away unnoticed, their bodies discovered days or weeks later. In Tokyo alone, thousands of such cases occur every year. It's a haunting symbol of a society running out of human connection. And what makes this all the more tragic is that Japan is still, in many ways, thriving. It's safe, it's clean, it's technologically advanced. It's hailed as one of the most beautiful, organized countries on Earth. But beneath all of that surface lies a slow erosion of people. And Japan isn't alone. South Korea's birth rate has also fallen. China's population has begun to decline for the first time in modern history. Italy, Germany, and much of Eastern Europe face similar trajectories. Japan is simply the first to reach the point of no return. It's a mirror showing what may soon await the rest of the developed world. The global implications are huge. Economists worry about the collapse of consumer markets. Fewer young workers means slower innovation, lower growth, and rising social costs. Culturally, nations could lose traditions, languages, and entire ways of life as younger generations vanish. Aging societies become more risk-averse, less creative, and more resistant to change. And the question that arises here is, what happens when a society forgets how to reproduce? Not just biologically, but spiritually. What happens when a culture becomes so focused on work and stability that it stops taking the risks that define a human life, such as uncertainty, love, and family? For decades, Japan built a system that rewarded discipline and perfection, and it succeeded beyond measure. I mean, they became at one point the second largest economy in the world. But now, that same strength has become their weakness. The pursuit of stability has led to stagnation, and now stagnation has turned into decline, and their time is running out. With each year that passes, the population shrinks further. Each generation is smaller than the one before. Whether Japan can be saved is no longer the question. Its fate, sadly, appears to have already been sealed. The question now is whether the rest of the world will see the warning signs and course correct before we too run out of time.